temple meets the City of London. In the centre of the road is this another reptilian figure. Just a coincidence, nothing to worry about. So what you have all over the world is this recurring theme, which only when you kind of open your mind to this, you start to say, bloody hell, it's everywhere, of the dragon and the reptilian imagery. I mean, in the East, in places like Japan and China, where there was also massive interbreeding in China with these entities, it seems, you have the dragon at the very heart of the culture. The Messiah, the word Messiah, it seems, comes from Mesa, which is the Nile crocodile, because the pharaohs were anointed with the fat of a Nile crocodile as part of the coronation. And it also breaks down as anointed one, which is what the word Christ means, anointed one. All these things interconnect in the end, as we'll see as we go along. Even biblical references to the devil have a reptilian serpent imagery about them. This is from Revelation. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. Over and over, this same recurring theme. This is a painting that Credo Mutwa did on the side of one of his huts, which is symbolically telling the story of some of the stories told in the ancient African history and legends. And where do I find this again but on the logo of Alfa Romeo? Extraordinary. And on the other side of Alfa Romeo, you have the red cross on the white background of the Knights Templar, the very elite secret society within the Illuminati bloodline network. Silvio Berlusconi, who's just got back into the leadership in Italy, has in his garden that same imagery of the serpent with a human in his body. And he's a major secret society operative, he is. He was in the famous infamous P2 Freemasonry Lodge that came to light in the late 70s and led to the guy, Roberto Calvi, the banker connected to P2, being hung under Blackfriars Bridge just down for the road from here. And then around the fairy stories and the other kind of stories and folk stories, you get this recurring theme of the frog prince, the serpent prince, shape-shifting into a human prince or a princess doing the same, and so on. It's remarkable how consistent it is all over the world. And today you've got children's books and stuff which are talking about reptilian morphing into humans and stuff, and what we call shape-shifting. Now, of course, when you're talking about this for the first time, about shape-shifting, I mean, people go, crikey, what is he on? Because understandably, what they're perceiving is a solid body changing into a solid body. Not possible, mate. Yeah, no, I agree with you, but I ain't saying that. Because there is no physical, therefore there's not a shape shift from a physical solid body to another solid body. The Queen is a hologram, like we're all holograms. And if she shifts, it's because the hologram has shifted, the decoding system in the observer has shifted, not her physical body. And what you have are 3 different levels of control, though it goes on further. But that's for another day, another time, and a lot more research. But this is one level of it, which is the dark suits, as I call them. And I found this picture on the internet. I thought, how perfect. They're like hollow shells, holographic hollow shells. Not necessarily all of them, but significant numbers are. Others are just gophers who don't know what's going on and are just play the game without realizing the game they're playing. Behind them are those that operate in the shadows that I talked about earlier, who, no matter who's in power, what party or what name, the same shadow people are orchestrating events. As they say in America, it doesn't matter who you vote for, the government still gets in. And the government are these shadow people who are there, whoever comes in and out with a rosette on or a name of a political party. And then you go one step back and you go out of this dimension, basically, or more accurately, you go out of the frequency range called visible light that we can decode and therefore see as a physical experience. These reptilian entities seem to operate, and again, it's not just reptilian. There are many different kinds of entities that do not have a human form that operate just outside of human sight, and history has recorded them as demons and all this stuff. But the reptilian part of it seems to be very significant to the controlling systems on the planet today. And they operate just outside of visible light. Therefore, we don't see them in the normal course of events. That's just basically like a ghost. When you're looking at a ghostly figure, most of them don't look solid because they're operating just outside of your frequency. Just enough for you to perceive something, but not enough for them to appear to be have solidity. This is very similar to having a radio and it not quite being on the station. You can hear the station, but there's what we call interference, and it's not sharp. Visually, that's what's happening when people see these ghostly, ethereal-type figures. So shape-shifting is not the movement from a dense physical body to a dense physical body. It would appear from the endless research that I've done and people I've talked to all over the world and all the rest of it put together, my own experiences sometimes, that what we're looking at are these hybrid bloodlines. Because of the hybrid nature of the DNA, the software program, they have a vibrational sympathy with that which interbred with them. And this doesn't have to be physical interbreeding either, as I'll come to. And so these bloodlines can be, quote, possessed, their emotional, mental faculties taken over much more easily than the general run of the population does not have that hybrid DNA, thus that vibrational sympathy, compatibility between the two energy fields. So what they're doing in effect is using the secret society network they've set up to manipulate these bodies into power, but in doing so they're putting themselves into power because they're controlling the mental and emotional processes of these vehicles. Now, when we look at, say that's a major politician or something, when we look at him with our five-sense sight, we are going to decode that level of him that is operating with invisible light. So what do we see? We see a human. But behind him, just outside of that frequency range, we'd see something very different. And I've met endless people who've seen it, who do have that ability to move their visual frequency range further than the norm. So what is happening is, with shape-shifting, or one way that it's happening, is sometimes that energy field just outside of visible light moves into that frequency range. It sometimes happens when this vehicle is going through great emotional turmoil. I've had that story told to me many times when people have seen this, the circumstances surrounding it. And at that point, this energy field enters visible light and becomes the prime forward energy field. And then it goes back again. To the observer, who is decoding that energy field through the brain and turning it into a physical experience, what he observes only in his head is human, non-human, human. Did you see that? But it wasn't physical. It was a change in the decoding of the brain of the energy field it's observing. And this interbreeding can happen without coming into the physical, because these are energy fields, and these energy fields can send down genetic codes down into this reality. It's horrible to think